everyone. My name is Andrzej, and today I want to cover the topic of generative AI and what happened there over the past year. I'm a senior director of cloud AI services at Pegasystem, but I wasn't always the AI guy, right? It kind of my career shifted around 2 years ago when I pivoted 100% towards the AI. Before that, I was a cloud guy for decades, and I specialize in leadership, various forms of leaderships as well. I'm based from Poland. That's my first time to Porto. It's an amazing city. I love it. I will certainly come here with my family ASAP, especially that we have a direct flight, which is absolutely amazing. So before I dive into the topic of the presentation today, I want to share my favorite quote with you. AI won't replace people, but people who use AI will replace those who don't. I found this quote in the IBM research for 2023. It's very powerful for me, right? So it doesn't really matter if you like AI, but it's here to stay. So my tip for you is to embrace it, right? There's really no way of stopping this revolution from happening farther. So today I'm gonna take you on a journey, right? Journey through time. I will set the stage of how Gen AI happened for me and for majority of the world. I will just review what happened during the past 12 months, and I will risk some predictions about the future in the end. So for me, but not only for me, for the majority of the world, AI or Gen AI happened 2 years ago. This is when things exploded, right? This is where world realized that yes, AI is absolutely possible. It was not even full 2 years ago. It was November 30, 2022, when ChatGPT was released and had just taken the world by surprise. I still remember when I first logged in there, right? I was into AI a little bit before, but I never believed that we will pass the Turing test of some sort. Did this basically pass the Turing test for me? Like, I could not distinguish whether it's a human or if it's some kind of machine, and I even could have this feeling that it kind of can sense my emotions. So I was like, wow, I really need to get into this. This is the revolution that I want to help push forward. But before Gen AI, before this date, we had AI, right? You know it, right? So what happened, right? What changed? I really find this analogy about human brain helpful to explain what actually happened, right? Traditionally, one side of our brain is associated with this rational, with this tangible, with this concrete things, right? This rational thinking. But there's this other side of our brain, which we traditionally associate with imagination, creativity, art, right? And so it happens that it very nicely fits into these two types of AI that we had. Classical AI, which was already amazing before the date, right? It will continue to evolve, but it was just amazing already. And now we have this new type of AI, right? Generative AI. We basically were missing the half of the brain, right? When you think about it. And I really dislike looking at generative AI in isolation as a separate thing, right? The reason for that is like, when you look at generative AI as a separate thing, you get people who say things like, oh, large language models are useless because they hallucinate. They're not useless. This is how we design them. They are supposed to hallucinate. They're supposed to make things up. They're supposed to be this creative, imaginative, artistic part, right? This is what we designed them for. And guess what? If you would just turn half of your brain, this rational part of brain, and just run it through your life and make all these decisions based on your generative part of the brain, you would be hallucinating a lot. I can assure you, you will be making stuff up and believing that they are true. So don't look at generative AI in isolation. Look at it as a complementary thing to the AI that we had for so far. Now, another thing happened, especially for large organizations. I specialize in working with enterprise. It's like when I noticed ChatGPT and that I can speak with it, right? I thought, okay, at this point of time, all of the large companies in the world will train their models so their employees can chat with their knowledge. But RAG happened, right? RAG have taken me by surprise, right? And basically delayed the need for large companies to train their models, their own models, by 3 to maybe even 5 years, right? So RAG kind of saved us a lot of time and effort. And when I first read about RAG, I was just wondering, what the hell is this, right? I was trying to understand it for a half of a day, and I couldn't. And then I stumbled on this image. I was trying to find who created it. I don't know, but I owe this person a beer, absolutely, because I understood it thanks to this one. So basically, RAG, if you're not familiar with RAG, if there is a question that you want to ask to ChatGPT that you know it will not have ability to answer because it doesn't have enough data, first, take this data from your database and inject it to the prompt. Give ChatGPT a fighting chance. So that's RAG. Of course, it's way more complicated than that because there are mechanisms how to find this data, how to inject it, and stuff like that. But this is basically RAG. So this, for me, set the stage for what happened next. And now, as promised, let me take you on the journey. So what happened in autumn 2023? OpenAI released DALL-E 3 and Whisper 3, right? DALL-E 3 is an image, it's a text-to-image generation model. And we absolutely had models like that before, right? Probably some of them even better, like Midjourney or maybe even Stable Diffusion. But this one encouraged a lot of large companies and businesses to start using it. So that's why it was revolutionary. Whisper 3, in my opinion, was even more revolutionary when I think about it, right? Because that's a model that basically can talk with you, voice to voice, right? And it's almost like human. Like the first time I spoken with it, I was like 90% convinced that's a human. I can still sense that's a machine, but it's like it's nearly perfect. And yes, we had this kind of models before that, but that was really a game changer. And just to show you how much has changed in Gen AI over just 1 year, this is the presentation that I was presenting at, right? Year and 1 month ago, European Conference on Artificial Intelligence, by the way, the biggest stage I ever presented at, pretty scary. Anyway, the reason I'm showing you this, I was using there a lot of images that I generating using Midjourney, and they were amazing at that time. But when I look at them now, they're pretty crappy, right? So a lot of content that you will see in this presentation is generated today with Midjourney and other models like that. It's just incomprehensibly better, right? Just after one single year. I mentioned to you that I'm a cloud guy. So I want to bring you up to speed, into the world of the cloud, because Amazon at that time, year ago, bought Anthropic, and I want to tell you why it's important. So there are 3 companies out there that matters, no one else matters in the public cloud industry. It's a huge industry. They make so much money. It's basically driving American economy when you think about it to an extent. So Amazon historically was the first one to create first public cloud. They basically invented it. Thanks to that, they are a leader on the market. Then Microsoft joined in with their Azure offering, and then Google was the last one to enter the race. You can clearly see that from the market share that they have. So Google had to figure out a way to kind of, chase a little bit the competition. So they were thinking very hard, what's the next revolution that's going to happen? And they predicted correctly that that's going to be AI revolution. That's why in 2014, so pretty long time ago, they acquired a company called DeepMind, right? This is basically a startup for AI. Till this day, this company runs inside of Google as a separate company, basically. The reason is very simple. Google didn't want to kill the entrepreneurial spirit of this company. It basically runs like a startup inside of large Google corporation. Then, a couple of years later, Microsoft came in just in time. Perfect timing, right? So Microsoft is really winning this AI race. And they did almost the same thing with OpenAI. I know that many of you believe that OpenAI is a separate company, but it's not. They're completely dependent on Microsoft. For all practical reasons, Microsoft owns OpenAI. The reason why they did not just acquire it completely is they want to run it as a separate entity, so it generates a lot of innovation and ideas. They didn't want to, the same trick that Google did. They don't want to kill the entrepreneurial spirit of OpenAI, right? And Amazon came pretty late to the race because, you know, they were the dominant power, so they didn't pay so much attention. So now they corrected their mistake and they acquired Anthropic. Again, the same trick that you have with OpenAI, right? So they own Anthropic for all practical reasons, but Anthropic is a separate a company. And now we have a complete picture. And so it happens that three most powerful large language models that are out there are owned by Google or Microsoft or Amazon. Right, so this is what these companies are doing. The reason why they are investing so much with AI is they want to attract more clients to their to their cloud offering, right? So it's like you know, if you want to use Gemini, come to Google Cloud. If you want to use OpenAI, the only way to do it with a public cloud is you come to Microsoft. Amazon will be doing exactly the same. So there are basically 5 major AI players out there. These are 3. The 4th one is Meta or Facebook, whatever you call it, Mr. Zuckerberg company. And they have a different business model than these 3. Meta doesn't have any public cloud offering, right? So they were free to choose a different path. So the path that they have chosen, they said, oh, we entered this large language model race, but we open our models for everyone. Everyone in the world can use our models for commercial or non-commercial use for free. Everyone in the world except Google, Microsoft, and Amazon. They have created the contract, the license in a way that these 3 companies can't use Llama for free, right? But everyone else can. So now our image of this top 5 is almost complete. We have 4. And speaking about Meta and Llama, I said that it's open model, but it's not that open, to be honest. Let me show you how. First of all, the joke of all times, I think we would be laughing for decades from this. OpenAI, company that has open and AI in its name, has the least open large language models that's out there. This is the research from the Dutch guys from University of something. You can Google that, right? It's like they measured at the time large language models and how open they are, right? There are many metrics here. I know that you can't see it, but trust me. Basically, there are 3 groups how you can look at if LLM is open or not. First is large language model doesn't have open weights. What does it mean? Can you look inside the model and see how it works? Right? So that's open weights. Second would be open data set. So can you look at the data that model was trained on, right? And third thing is open source, meaning can you look at algorithms and methodologies and programs that actually train the model, right? And when you look at these things, there's really nothing that much open. The upper half of the chart, I bet a beer with every one of you. You don't even know that these models exist. They are so niche. This is like university guys and geeks doing that. The first model that you will recognize is just only in the middle of the table. That's Mistral, our only European Union gem. So keeping my fingers closed. Everything else is just going to the bottom with ChatGPT, as promised, the most closed model out there. Now, continuing on our journey, what happened in winter 2024? Well, in winter 2024, Microsoft Suno happened. So Suno is basically like OpenAI. So Microsoft keep it as a separate company, but basically they own it, right? So Suno is the song generative AI tool. Interestingly enough, OpenAI went to every possible generative AI area except of song generating, right? I don't know why, but that's the path that they have chosen. Personally, I'm an amateur musician. I play a little bit, right? So I was very excited about this one. I created probably 1,000 songs on Suno, right? 80% of it is just completely useless. It should never exist. But 20% of it, it's okay. It's not great, but it's okay, right? So it's amazing what these tools can do. And just to prove you that, today morning I have just went there and to Suno and said, generate a song about Porto Tech Hub and stuff like that, 2024. It generated something for me. I will just play it in a second. Not to make it boring, I also generated using Runway. I generated the video out of this photo that I have taken in this room in the morning, right? So enjoy the next 30 seconds. So that's my backup video. If this presentation goes really poorly, this is what I will show to my friends that this is how it goes. Hopefully not, hopefully not. So it's actually amazing, right? That average Joe like me, I can just go there and spend $5 or something and just generate something like that in the morning, right? Something that music industry would kill for 20 years ago, right? So this is really interesting. And speaking of Microsoft, which basically owns Suno, I was on the conference around the time, so in winter, right, in Paris. A lot of, I'm not sure how to put it, very boring conference, not like here, like, everyone with suits and ties, you get the picture. A lot of enterprise clients, and they were having a lot of questions towards the Microsoft. And the most common question, and I can confirm you with me working with clients, the biggest challenges out there is a misconception that large language models remember, right? ChatGPT remembering is an illusion. And let me tell you why it's illusion. And this is the analogy that I use. Imagine that you want to build a huge network of pipes, huge, right? It's a very difficult manufacturing process, using a lot of energy and time. You bend these pipes in the right shape, and then you have to have a construction crew to put it in place. A lot of money, a lot of energy, a lot of time, a lot of resources, right? When you have it and you run water through these pipes, pipes do not remember the water. And pipes do not change shape of it because of the water running through it. And the same is true for the large language models. It's like in the Lord of the Rings, right? These models were forged in the Mount Doom or whatever, how it's called, right? With a lot of GPU power, a lot of time, a lot of data. And when it's done, it's static. It doesn't change. It doesn't remember the water, the data that flows through it. It doesn't change its shape. It doesn't learn because of the water or data that's running from it, right? So how is it that we all are confused about this one? Well, ChatGPT is to blame. I mean, it's an amazing tool. I love it, right? But ChatGPT here is to blame. So large language model under the hood, it's called GPT. ChatGPT is UI, right? And UI remembers. Whenever you type a question, it gives you the answer. Great. Then you type a follow-up question, and it gives you the answer with the context. How? Because whenever you press enter in the UI, your entire conversation is being resent, right? So that's why you have illusion of ChatGPT remembering, even though large language models do not remember a thing. Continuing on our journey, right? What happened in spring 2024? Well, this happened.
Everybody who's building these chatbots and generative AI, when you're ready to run, you're going to need an AI factory. And nobody is better at building end-to-end systems of very large scale for the enterprise than Dell. And so any company, every company needs to build AI factories. And it turns out that Michael is here and he's happy to take one. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Dell.
This was CEO of NVIDIA on their yearly conference, basically publicly killing Intel. I was there to witness there. I was lucky guy in the corner, completely by accident, right? And I remember I thought at the time, okay, that's the end of the Intel. The reason is very simple. Dell is the largest, probably the only one, supplier of all enterprise hardware to all large companies in the world. Dell is what matters when you are dealing with large companies. So if NVIDIA can go into such a close business relationship with Dell as they just announced that they will, that basically means that Intel is out of the picture. And just to prove you that I was right for once, usually I'm wrong, but this time I was right, this is the Intel stock price. The green dot is when the announcement about Dell happened on the conference, and that's it. That's just the end. The black dot is when ChatGPT was released, so like 2 years ago. At the time, we all knew that Intel has nothing to do with AI, but we thought that, well, company with this much of experience and specialists and money and all of this, yeah, they can pivot, right? Well, it seems that they cannot. Another thing that happened on this NVIDIA conference, and it's really important for the industry, look, so for large organizations to adopt some technology, there's a lot of things that have to happen. One of them is training and certification program, right? So before that, we had a lot of great AI certification programs and trainings. We had some very basic generative AI certifications, like Azure had something really trivial, right, to pass, really entry level. But these guys announced on this conference the certifications that's really solid. If you are into AI, I really recommend you doing this one, because it doesn't only scratch the surface, it goes deep, right? What's LoRa, what's the attention layer and stuff like that. So it's really interesting. And then I'm very proud to announce that I was the first person ever to fail this certification. How do I know it, right? Because there was a beta on this conference. I just went there with a bunch of other 30 people and just, trying to pass it, and I finished the first one, but I failed. So, that's my guarantee that I was the first one to fail it. And speaking of NVIDIA, just, please remember, I think every one of you realizes that, but there's NVIDIA and nothing else when we are talking about AI. That's it. That's the reality today. And another fact, there is not enough NVIDIA chips out there for everyone. This is from State of AI. Really amazing, guys. Again, if you're into AI, you must read it. Every year they do a very deep State of AI report where they go through everything that happens. I really recommend you going through this one. One thing that they do is they also track which companies have collected how many NVIDIA chips, right? Which is basically for AI. A100 is 2020 model. That's the model that enabled ChatGPT to explode, right? This is how they trained it. This is how they were running it, right? And it continues to drive majority of your Gen AI workflows under the hood. Then in 2023, we got this H100 model, right? So these are the two models that are running everything, right? Everything, if you are doing Suno, if you are using GPT, whatever, right? It uses these two models of the cards, nothing else. There are newer one, like H200, B100, B200, but they barely started shipping, right? So they're basically non-existing. So this is everything that runs this revolution. And by the way, even if I had money, which I don't, I couldn't buy this amount of NVIDIA chips, because first of all, wait time for NVIDIA chip like that is 12 to 18 months. And if you remember Moore's law, 18 months basically means that your gear is already outdated by a generation, right? So that sucks. Second of all, you also need to have connections. It's not enough to have money, because there is not enough NVIDIA chips. I speak a lot with Microsoft Azure and with AWS guys, and I ask them, oh, why is this model available here but not here? And first they give me some BS answer, something that I can Google. But when I poke harder, they say, Andrzej, you know it very well. Why are you asking? There's not enough NVIDIA cards, right? So even that all of these large companies have all the money in the world, they still cannot buy it because it's just not enough produced. As you can see here, Mr. Zuckerberg collected a lot of them, so he has a lot of money and he is very well connected. Elon Musk is the second, right? Now, this concludes the list of the 5 large companies that matters in AI, right? It's Google, it's Microsoft, it's Amazon, it's Meta, and NVIDIA. This is the 5. I'm still waiting to see who's gonna be the 6th. I don't know. Elon is trying very hard. So far, he didn't produce anything meaningful to earn this title of being the 6th. Apple is trying very hard. We'll see. Let's continue our journey. Summer 2024. Well, what happened here? OpenAI released 4.0 Mini. So up until this point, there were no meaningful models that were multimodal, right? What does it mean? So like GPT 3.5 was trained on all of the data on the internet. Basically, it read the entire internet, all the Wikipedia, all the chats and everything, right? This model was not only read the entire internet, but it also listened to the internet, and it also saw the internet, right? So it was trained on images and on audio files as well. So it gets this capability. Natively. So starting from this point, you can really have a conversation with ChatGPT natively. Before that, you couldn't do that. Now, I didn't put here 4.0. I put here 4.0 Mini. 4.0 Mini is basically a junior colleague of 4.0, but I think it's more revolutionary. So 4.0 is example of this thing that we call frontier model. So basically, these are the models, right, that shows what's possible, that push the boundaries of what we think is doable, right? Frontier models. But majority of businesses don't use it because it's slow and it's expensive, right? 95% of the use cases in the world run on things that we call foundation models, right? So GPT-4o Mini is way faster, way cheaper, and it's relatively smart. And you know, everything that you use, you know, all the AI tools, probably they don't use the frontier model. Probably they use some of the foundation models. So 4o Mini is revolutionary because of that reason. And this is another great page that I can recommend, artificial analysis. These are the guys who compare different large language models that are out there, right? On one axis, you see how much they cost. On another is how smart they are. Basically, for all the practical purposes, assume that expensive means slow, because the reason why they are expensive is that they use a lot of GPU to run. So that makes them slow, but that also makes them expensive. And you know, as I said, these are all the meaningful models that are out there. So GPT, which is basically Microsoft, Llama, which is Meta, Gemini, which is Google, Claude, which is Amazon, and again, you know, our European gem, still somewhere holding there. So when you are selecting model, when the companies are selecting model, basically they get this choice: either you go with cheap and fast, or you go with smart. At that time, another thing has happened that's worth mentioning, right? Because it gets a lot of good and bad press, right? So at the time, I was presenting on Pega World Conference, that's the Las Vegas conference, and there was a lot of enterprise clients, and they were asking me, Andrzej, what's about this EU AI Act? Because they knew I'm from Europe. And to be honest, they were not worried, right? We're just intrigued what's gonna happen there. So EU AI Act, I don't want to talk too much about this one. First of all, it's not fully in force. Only around that, it went very provisionally into force, meaning that really no one cares about it. We'll just hear a lot about this, but nothing meaningful is going to happen. It goes into full force in 2026 only. That's when we'll have to adjust to it. And speaking about EU, there's a lot of people who are worried about, you know, what's going to happen to our jobs because of the AI. Well, I have a different problem. The EU is committed to reach 20 million ICT specialists by 2030. However, the report shows that by 2030, under the current conditions, the number of ICT specialists may not exceed 12 million. That's official European Union stuff that you can Google. Let me just give you a background story. In 2020, European Union nations and European Commission sat together and analyzed in 10 years, so by 2030, how many IT specialists we have to have in order to keep with the demand. We knew that we can use more, but what's the bare minimum to keep the economy running? At the time, we had 8.5 million IT specialists. And we estimated that by the 2030, we need 20. We know right away, we know already that's 2023, that there is no chance on earth that we're gonna hit this number. And if you think that we can fix it with migration, think again, because entire IT industry of India, the most populous country in the world, is 4 million people. That's not gonna fill the gap, even if they would move. They won't, but even if they would move. If you add China to this, 5 million people, then you're getting closer to 20 million people, right? So what's the solution? What's the solution? Well, my educated hope is that Gen AI will, at least in IT industry, will drive so much productivity boosts that maybe we will not have to have 20 million. Maybe it's gonna be okay to have 15. We'll see. So if you ask me if I'm worried about AI taking our jobs, on the contrary, I'm hoping it's gonna take some of our jobs because otherwise there is no one to do them. Now, what happened in autumn? So now, basically, right, of 2024. Right. Well, ChatGPT advanced audio happened, right? So if you are a ChatGPT user, you know that previously you could just voice chat with it, but the way you were voice chatting with it, you were actually talking to this whisper model that's under the hood was sending data to ChatGPT model, right? To GPT model. Now you can talk natively, you can interrupt it. It's absolutely amazing. I think it's gonna drive a lot of innovations in the next year. And another thing that just happened is that this guy got a Nobel Prize. He's a godfather of AI. And just listen to what he had to say about what do we know about this large language model that we have just created.
We have a very good idea so roughly what it's doing. But as soon as it gets really complicated, we don't actually know what's going on any more than we know what's going on in your brain.
What do you mean we don't know exactly how it works? It was designed by people.
No, it wasn't. What we did was we designed the learning engine. That's a bit like designing the principle of evolution. But when this learning algorithm then interacts with data, it produces complicated neural networks that are good at doing things, but we don't really understand exactly how they do those things.
He's absolutely right. No one on earth do really understand how this large language models works in a sense, like how did this intelligence showed up. Basically what we did, we created a lot of smart technologies, we put a lot of data and a lot of GPU on it, and it kind of emerged. No one really knows how. These guys tell us to be super careful around this one. I'm a more optimist. I'm more like a cowboy here. I'll say, let's see what's gonna happen. Hopefully it won't kill us all. But all jokes aside, think about it like that, right? We can only explain in details how fire works for 500 years from the chemistry point of view. But for how long are we using and controlling fire? For tens of thousands of years, right? So when did it ever stop us to use or control something that we don't understand? So yes, he's right. We need to be careful, right? That's why things like EU AI Act makes sense, right? Makes sense in the long term. But I'm not that worried. Another thing that just happened like a month ago is that Linus Torvalds said this: the whole tech industry around AI is in a very bad position, and it's 90% marketing and 10% reality. If you don't know who Linus is, he's the guy who created Linux. You can Linux, right? He created. He's very active, still member of. Basically, he's the main developer behind Linux, and I agree with him. He's right. We are in a thing called hype cycle. So everyone is hyped around AI. That's why I am here. That's why you are here, right? And that's why I could not resist myself, but I have taken photo with the CEO of NVIDIA. I'm sorry, I'm part of the problem of the hype, not part of the solution. I enjoy it a lot. Gartner explains it really, really nicely what the hype cycle is, right? And this is where generative AI is. On one axis, you have expectations of the society. On another, it's time, right? And every technology ever goes through this cycle in different ways, but goes through this cycle. So when the society realizes that there is a new technology, we just imagine what's possible. We hallucinate, some people could say, right? So we imagine what's possible. Oh, I will never have to work again. Oh, it will kill all the humans, right? And it's called peak of inflated expectations, right? So generative AI is just, you can see the cracks, because I'm talking about this one, Linus is talking about this one. So you can see the cracks, right? And then it's gonna go down. We'll go as a society to another extreme, valley of despair, where we'll believe that this is the worst technology ever. It should have never been created. That was a big mistake. It's completely useless. And only then the reality will start to emerge gradually with time, and we'll see what's what it's good for and what's not. So if you're a fan of generative AI, well, enjoy the ride down. It's going to be a hectic year for you, next 12 to 18 months in the disillusionment part. And now I want to kind of smoothly move to what's gonna happen in the next year, right? So there is another hyped out technology, right, that's emerging, and it's called autonomous agents. Sometimes it's called agentic AI agents, names like that. So that's gonna be in a year from now. That's gonna be on the top of the hype cycle. So with that, let's move to 2025 prediction, and just one hope from me that finally we'll see OpenAI Sora. Right. By the way, it was supposed to be released now, but Sam Altman just confirmed what I said. They don't have enough NVIDIA chips, so all of the research and development is basically screwed, and there are months and months of delays. OpenAI Sora is the very good, hopefully, a video generation tool. I use Runway, as you can see, right, which is very, very good, but it's not perfect. I think it could do better. So Sora will do magic for me. I think we'll talk a lot about Sora next year. So now let's move to autonomous agents, or this agentic AI. So I have given you the analogy of right and left brain. When you Google it, or maybe you studied biology, there's more parts, just left and right side. There's probably like hundreds of different parts of brain talking to each other, right? And if you want to build autonomous agents, you need more parts. Now I wanna talk about my favorite part of human brain, just to show you how many different parts out there. So usually you run on this logical and creative part of brain. This is the conscious part of brain, but there is this tiny part of brain called amygdala. And it just sits there idle, does nothing, unless you feel threatened, unless you feel you are in danger. Then it kicks in, and it takes over all of your decision making. The rational and creative part of brain are not aware of amygdala existence, right? They don't know what's happening. Decisions are being made. They're trying to rationalize what's happening so they could feel that they are in control, even though they are not. And the reason why amygdala is taking charge is, like with these large language models, right? You can go for something that's fast and cheap or smart. So amygdala is way less smarter than the rational part of brain, but it's way faster. Way faster. It works like that. If the dinosaur chases you, okay, that's maybe a bad example. If the bird chases you, right? You want to make fast decisions. You don't want to rationalize and think about it and then act. Interestingly enough, even in today's world, amygdala runs a lot of your decisions with you being aware of it. Like if bird chases you, that makes sense. But if your boss threatens you at work, please know that your rational part of brain is not running the show. There are three reactions that amygdala can have. You counterattack, right? You run away, or you pretend that you are not there. You pretend that you are dead, right? So if you want to build autonomous agents, you kind of have to build different AI intelligences working together. They need to be able to communicate with each other. You need to build right prompts. You need fast. You need smart. You need to know what takes action where. And the way I define autonomous agent or AI agent is like, if you want to automate entire single job of a single person, right? So a lawyer at company X, that's autonomous agent, right? So in order to do so, you need to have a lot of different large language models and classical AI working together, but you also need to give the system ability to perceive things, right? Like I can see you right now, so I can do this job, right? So maybe one part of this brain will be able to see the webcam, and the other will be able to read Google News, right? Another thing that you need to do is you need to give it some memory, right? So it could change the system behavior based on the experiences that it had. Remember, models do not remember, so you have to remember things somewhere, right? And one last thing that you need to do if you want to do the job, look, I can do do things with my hands. This is called tools, right? So these autonomous agents also have to have access to tools, and that's how you can have autonomous agents. Next year, a lot of hype, a lot of progress, but I'm not sure if you will see a lot of real applications. This is again from Gartner. On the left side, you have you have the best chatbots that we have right now in terms of agentic AI. This is where humans are. So the gap is huge, right? We're not gonna fill it up in a year or something like that. It's gonna take years, right? And that basically concludes my entire presentation for you. And if you would remember one thing from this entire deck, it would be that AI won't replace people, but people who use AI replace those who don't. Doesn't really matter if you like AI or not, it's gonna stay here. So my tip for you is to embrace it and stay current with it. So with that being said, thank you again for inviting me here. Porto is beautiful. I hope to see the market square today and walk along the river. Thank you for not falling asleep during this presentation. I hope I didn't bore you to death. And that's it. I'm not sure if we have time for questions. Yes, I think we do. So thank you. If there are any questions, I would take them. If no. Great. Thank you for great questions. Thank you very much.